oras sa 11. Talaga nga, na-OD ba ito? Okay. Mm.
105.5, your station for the best Pinoy music. 24 hours a day.
Mix 105.5.
Alright. Okay. Ano titapugan tayo itatap? Oh, okay. International Women's Month. Kunanda yan? Alright. At dareto'y podcast ti mesa nga at dataya mangdamdamag iti mesa nga ubing. Anya, kurana. Iti what is a woman kuranang sa tataya. Ang tayo na bareng na makita tayo pa day nga kota. What is a woman kurana rin lalaki. Yan. And napalanan tayo. Okay. Ay, agtukaw dari. Okay. But anyway, ito na makita tayo. Dayjay. Okay. Bareng alright. At timan dati din tayo. Okay. Uray may sa kunana. Kunan ni Roxanne. Yeah.
May sakalatang yung daytay adunga pagsupikatuan ang puro mo peke pinaplastic ipagpakita da kanya ay ako delikado daytay adalimod nga bura na nakabukutong daytay adadagos nga apal na nakabantong kin makaumang makihalubilo kadagita pakitang tao sumakay gato pa daytay adayunan iti amin nasimsimbang ti panunod ko naululi yung magtibiyag ko awan ko hero.
Ulit, darling. May napalanan. Ulit. Okay, Roxanne.
May sakalatang yung daytay adunga may supikatuan ang puro mo peke pinaplastic ipagpakita da kanya ay ako delikado daytay adalimod nga bura na nakabukutang daytay adadagos nga apal na nakabantong kin makaumang makihalubilo kadagita pakitang tao sumakay gato pa daytay adayunan iti amin nasimsimbang ti panunod ko naululi yung magtibiyag ko awan ko hero. Aloha Care. Caring for others is at the heart of everything we do. Inspired by Aloha, we make
Okay, no. Okay. Sabali datan. Nagagagayang kiramsat. Oh, the deep state arrested. Kurang okay. Hindi pa Roxanne mo
Hindi
na.
agi mula ibisakit itinagam kunada. Mamat bagapay dagiti daduma ka ipado mo. Mamakawan ka. Naglaka na ibaga. Handa kami nga na imatanganan dagiti iwang na nagtagtag iniinin insulto da ka. Handa kami nga nang nagdagiti sa input mo hindi tinagtagibasit da ka. Handa nga narik na dagiti pusong makaslabuntak da po iti kinaado iti sakit nga linaod na. Yung pagkumanuhan tayong gagara, inasakit kat inulit-ulit na kapay nga trinado nga kasawan serserbil nga tao. O siguro na nakatimang makawan, tapno lang malaganan day tarig na. Anong tayo kunakon nga imbagpay day tayo kudil, taglaing nga masugat. Ngam day tayo pusok yung panunod nga masaktan, nagrigat, hampulos na makalipat.
So, yeah. Alright. Ulitan tayo.
Sini aging mula ibisakit itinagam, kunada. Pamagbagapay dagiti daduma ka ipado mo, magmakawan ka. Naglaka nga ibaga. Handa ngamin nga na imatangan dagiti iwang na nagtagtag iniinin insulto da ka. Handa ngamin nga nang dagiti sa input mo hindi tinagtagibasit da ka. Handa nga narik na dagiti pusong makaslabuntak da po iti kinaado iti sakit nga linaod na. Yung pagkumanuhan tayong gagara, inasakit kat inulit-ulit na kapay nga trinado nga kasawan serserbil nga tao. O siguro na lakatimang makawan, tapno lang malaganan day tarig na. Anong tayo kunakon nga imbagpay day tayo kudil, taglaing nga masugat. Ngam day tayo pusok yung panunod nga masaktan, nagrigat, hampulos nga makalipat.
Alright. Paiso, ya. Nya magkunayo. Pero ito'y bagbagan ni Roxanne. Okay, dapay.
Uray si Kandi ka sa sayaatan, adala ta day tayo tao nga madini pa nagkita na kanya. Kagurgura na ka. Kamakita na ka, maperdi ti algaw na. Uy, awang tinopram, at burot gitara na. Pag-asa ti lumabas
data social media ra ito ya. Kurana kaputa International Women's Month ya. Kurana natin na interview ka na tubing ya. Baring no mawatan niyo ya. Tagalog. Who is a woman? Apa English nga tama ya. Ti bagana ra tubing sumba na. Oh, okay. Ilan tayo? Uy, apa ya? Awan mati. Berka, wait. Awan iti boses mo. What's wrong? Ako nagplain ka ng apa, linggos ka. What is a woman? Awan mati iti volume mo. What is that? Esos, awan ma. Mati nagmaya. Pumarati yung mga ganito yun, ya. Mga safety. Awan. Antay nga mangigam dato korete ubing. Awan iti. Okay, dati may ubing nga mesa. Okay?
Tandaan mo, hindi sila gold para mo bigyan ng value. At lalong hindi sila pera para bigyan mo ng halaga. Kung ayaw nila sa'yo, eh di ayaw mo rin sa kanila. Ganun lang kasimple. Marami pa ang may gusto sa'yo, tandaan mo yan. Iwasan mo na yung mga taong ayaw sa'yo. Tandaan mo, hindi sila gold para mo bigyan ng value. At lalong hindi sila pera para bigyan mo ng halaga. Kung ayaw nila sa'yo, eh di ayaw mo rin sa kanila. Ganun lang kasimple. Marami pa ang may gusto sa'yo, tandaan mo yan. Iwasan mo na yung mga taong ayaw sa'yo. Tandaan mo, hindi sila gold para mo bigyan ng value. At lalong hindi sila pera para bigyan mo ng halaga. Kung ayaw nila sa'yo, eh di ayaw mo rin sa kanila. Ganun lang kasimple. Marami pa ang may gusto sa'yo, tandaan mo yan. Iwasan mo na yung mga taong ayaw sa'yo. Tandaan mo, hindi sila gold para mo bigyan ng value. At lalong hindi sila pera para bigyan mo ng halaga. Kung ayaw nila sa'yo, eh di ayaw mo rin sa kanila. Ganun lang kasimple.
That's
Marami
right.
pa ang may gusto sa'yo, tandaan mo yan.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. Nagadurog iti breaking news nga rumor nga manaktak nga mangkita tayo rin ito ipangig tayo kada kayo ya. Okay. Ano adara to na interview nga ubing barang mabirukan tayo ito malain da jay. Who is a woman? But detoy kuna na detoy ubing ya. Ada man ang interview kanya na nga anong klaseng meal para mapasa iyo ang dalaga. Okay?
Ano ba klaseng meal para mapasaya ang mga babae?
Ito yung mga meal na magpapasaya sa mga babae. Ito ang 2 meal, 4 meal, 5 meal, at 10 meal.
Parang pera yun ah.
Oo, pera yun. Kasi yung mga babae, mga mukhang pera.
Yung mukhang pera no.
Baby, ano ba klaseng meal para mapasaya ang mga babae?
Ito yung mga meal na magpapasaya sa mga babae. Ito ang 2 meal, 4 meal, 5 meal, at 10 meal.
Parang pera yun ah.
Oo, pera yun. Kasi yung mga babae, mga mukhang pera.
Alright, assist ko na ni assist dito yung original audio. Okay. Alright. Yeah. Okay, sabali man dito yan na yan. Alright. Damit to agsalming ka. Kunana. Wait. Okay.
Mga ka itinakil nga sarmeng. Manipod ulo ang ikana sa kakitang day kabagbagin. Sa mo abirisan no nakadikarbunan namang tagibasit yung manginsulto iti padang matao. Bae. Mga ka itinakil nga sarmeng. Manipod ulo ang ikana sa kakitang day kabagbagin. Sa mo abirisan no nakadikarbunan namang tagibasit yung manginsulto iti padang matao. Bae.
Awan, si karbingan si mesa nga tao. Awan si karbingan tayo. Alright, naibaga tayo na ayati 5 nga kita ti tao nga saan tayo nga dapat nga tulungan. Anya ri jay itay. Okay? Anya ri jay nga baga idi kalman malagipyo. Okay. I hope nga amuyo. Okay? parang namang ikanta yun. Okay, who is a woman?
Education only ends in kitchen. Who's gonna clean the toilet and the other rooms?
Wow.
Baby, what's your opinion on love?
It's a waste of time.
What advice you have for the younger generation of men?
There are two types of women. Stay away from both of them.
Baby, why women live longer life than a man?
They live longer than men because women don't have wives.
And what advice do you have for young people?
Get married while you're still young because when you grow older, you became wiser. And a wiser person does not get married.
Baby, why is that in the most cases gay men are more successful than straight men?
It's because gay men don't date a woman.
Baby, what's the worst thing than a bad marriage?
The worst thing in a bad marriage is a good lawyer on her side.
Baby, what does LGBTQ stand for?
There's no straight answer, they are complicated.
Baby, do you believe education is the key to success?
Definitely not. If education is the key to success, teachers would have been millionaires.
Baby, what is your relationship advice for the people this year?
If one boyfriend, one girlfriend make you happy, just imagine having 4 girlfriends. Start thinking this year.
What is your advice to the world?
My advice to the world is do not give up on your dreams, just keep sleeping.
Alright, nangyayari na dyan. Talaga nga na sirid na dyan obingaya. Alright, ulitin tayo. Because te kurara nga rodya, it's a woman's, International Women's,
Finding
month, yeah? Alright, ulitin tayo. Naling mag-English na tubing ya. Okay, ang kabenta na. Okay, wait. Okay.
A woman is person who reject good man, accept bad
state of emergency.
get disappointed and blame all men.
How do you know when a woman is about to say something really smart or intelligent?
When she starts a sentence with a man once told me.
Baby, would you marry a single mother?
Definitely not, because a man was created to start a family, not to join a family.
Baby, what is the most important rules that every man have to always live by?
Rule number 1, never hit a woman.
2.
Rule number 2, when she hit you first, forget rule number 1. If she can hit a man, she can get hit like a man.
Baby, why are languages called mother tongue?
Because the father never gets a chance to speak.
Baby, according to your own understanding, can women love a broke man?
If a woman loves you when you have nothing, trust me, she got another man on the side. The only woman who will love you when you're broke is your mother.
Oh,
Baby,
that's
I want
right.
to maybe have more than one girlfriend. Do you have any advice on how to do that?
Lie.
Okay?
And when they catch you, lie again till they believe it. As long as they are listening, you're still with them.
Yes, top of the morning, Gengi.
Lie again.
How you guys doing, ba? Just wanted for you.
Wedding ring on the left hand because wedding is not right.
Baby, do you think that women's education only ends in kitchen?
Absolutely not, because when women education only ends in kitchen, who's gonna clean
Some-
the toilet and the other rooms?
Baby, what's your opinion on love?
It's a waste of time.
Love is a waste of time.
What advice you have for the younger generation of men?
There are two types of women. Stay away from both of them.
Baby, why women live longer life than a man?
They live longer than men because women don't have wives.
And what advice do you have for young people?
Get married while you're still young because when you grow older, you became wiser. And a wiser person does not get married.
Wow.
Baby, why is that in the most cases gay men are more successful than straight men?
It's because gay men don't date a woman.
Baby, what's the worst thing than a bad marriage?
The worst thing in a bad marriage is a good lawyer on her side.
LGBTQ stand for?
There's no straight answer, they are complicated.
Baby, do you believe education is the key to success?
Definitely not. If education is the key to success, teachers would have been millionaires.
Baby, what is your relationship advice for the people this year?
If one boyfriend, one girlfriend make you happy, just imagine having 4 girlfriends. Start thinking this year.
What's your advice to the world?
My advice to the world is do not give up on your dreams, just keep
artificial intelligence mo talaga. Kaya nakabot ko kayo ngayon artificial na sila. Ado iti marukaw, this AI. Yeah? Gapong iti artificial intelligence yan, bagayon kang kakabsat yan. Ado iti mas scam. Yeah? Kuna tayo nga tana. Wala di pa naka-scam niya 1990, bagayon kang kakabsat, I think, or 1995 yan. Betul, di jangan tinangrugianan iti artificial intelligence yung pinakauna nga papila niya. Unang lang paiso investment. Scam at kaya. Yeah. Dahil during the Clinton administration, gagayang kan kakabsat ya. Alright, why I'm saying this, kung natin ito nakita yun to, karagayang tiyempo, ado iti na scam. Adapay na scam nga doctors from Holland.
Check.
Family of doctor. Kaya't da iti nag-immigrate dito'y Amerika. Kaya't na nga may agadal dagiti duwang anak na nga lalaki dito'y Amerika.
Check.
Holland. Ngayon, nakita na dito kasla dito nag-invest sa yeah. Amo yung nga rejay kwarta nga in ready na piman nga para iti panagadal dagiti anak na dito'y Amerika. In-invest natin pagkarup na nga agpaiso. 400,000 net iti napukaw kanya na. That was his investment, that was his funds for the education of his 2 male children. Yeah. So, credimet na tiyempo, same time, iti panakascam. Yeah.
Do you want to know where to invest $1,000 right now? Goldman Sachs says that Elon Musk's new AI breakthrough could trigger an unprecedented market opportunity. NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, says what Elon and his team
Well, if you live in Hawaii, as beautiful as it is, my condolences go out to you because right now the government.
Invest da amin piman. Yeah. Kana ti dinaibos amin do 1 million da. So nagrigat ayan kasakalaman lamang rugin iti barunga
Government there and the county officials are literally taking the entire area off the freaking deep end. When you guys find out the 2 bills that they are trying to pass right now, they just put them through in January, you're going to freak the heck out because I've never seen something as Orwellian. The 2 bills that they are trying to pass right now, they just put them through in January, you're going to freak the heck out because I've never seen something as Orwellian. The 2 bills that they are trying to pass right now, they just put them through in January, you're going to freak the heck out because I've never seen something as Orwellian. The 2 bills that they are trying to pass right now, they just put them through in January, you're going to freak the heck out because I've never seen something as Orwellian. The 2 bills that they are trying to pass right now, they just put them through in January, you're going to freak the heck out.
Pinang-interview kanya da credit telephone galmi. Yeah. Na nasarakan na nga barong Amerikano. Yeah, and then nagkasardamanin. Yeah. And then they started saving money together, yeah. So after a year, nakuha reta Bitcoin. Yeah. Invest da amin data Bitcoin. Then nag-crash the Bitcoin. Nag-zero da, nagpinabasol dan. Then they ended up nga nagsina manen. So tata da yung babaeng na paanan di mainland. Diya ka man yung parte diya kung damdamagit ka ni Pungal nga da diya Louisiana itata nung amunan riyan na reta nga gayemi. Yeah. Di na ka nung amun sinod tatayan na. Yeah. Okay. So kasta dagiti ado matayot may scam. Datay may panggap ti love scam. Ang lang nga kwarta. Ado iti may scam gaputa. Dagitay vulnerable nga women. Dagitay divorsyado. Dagitay nabalo. Yeah. Dagitay single nga saan nga nag-asawa. Ngim lagi pa nyo ang life begins at 40 kunada ya. Sa dalam malagi iti maki-penpal, maki-Facebook, maki-video chat ya. Karagiti adayo nga ada jay Europe, ada ta Australia, ano ta nga pagilian iti akin kinasta dayan. And then, oh honey, kuranan to na lalaki. I like to come to America but I don't have money. I wonder if you would like to pay my fare in coming to America so we will marry. We will get married. Kuranan to yan. Okay. Pwede men sa ngarudan ya. Adore kita ka sa love scam. Tapay na jay. Imay ka na tayo. Yan. Nga manang kunana ang mga sumangpot na jay baksen ngayon patulod dati boyfriend ko di jay Germany ako yeah apay nang ipatulod ka no adda ka no $500,000 di jay nagyabak mamati ka adda $500,000 di box oh my gosh kuna balbalatong aretan adi kuna kahit mano yung bayad mo sigatin ang bayad ti freight ni may ditoy when manong bayad mo di malagipan no manot yung bayad nan yan manotaw enan di amo no na alam no imay da yung boyfriend na from Germany ama men sa from Nigeria yan so ready ko na tayo nga kinulapan tayo da yung boyfriend na dyan Nigeria lain ka dyan Nigeria tala sa malasangin da kanto yan agila ko dati babae di jay kada kaastaya nga maparty asadan to ila ko dagi jay alain dati blood dati ko na tayo na yang agkidnap dati babalasang babae not so much diti ko pati ang mga diti pagalaan da Pilipinas jay Africa dagi tay black yan tapno kano napigpisa di darada yan okay yeah, kasta iti mapaspasama kagayon karamsat okay so kitain nyo na kita italtal nagyo dita social media yan nasapay kumata andara gito na itadi kumanen nga pagpampanunutan nyo kagayon karamsat pag minaminaan ko na tayo man ken pampanunutan nga namnamain tayo kung ng bad sa laeng naka because it's biblical masakuliti ato nga kararag pray hala para iti magbagi tayo but para iti indog sa ngalubungan akapya okay alright adapay mga minutos ya 12 minutes kasanganan iti panagsara di programa tayo halo-halo special gagawin karabsat yan agyaman nagkaragiti dingeg ti unos ti talong nga oras God bless you abundantly amin nga nakatune in iti detoy and karit amin na sumupsuportar iti detoy programa tayo and karit amin na programa ti radyo God bless you abundantly. God bless you all. Goodbye and I love you. Alright, gagayin kayo kapsat. Ito nga ruden ti mga ipagbaga nga 11:47.
W is 105.5, your 24-hour Pinoy hit radio. The Mix. The Mix.
105.5.
tone, more neutral,
Yeah,
and
okay.
just make more friends.
Yeah.
I saved a few eggs because those ones I leave for you, and 2 extra. Yeah, over here.
So where
Yeah,
are
and
you
2
going?
extra for your breakfast.
Oh, okay, thank you. So
But
where's the one that I
so if I can
can
take the
sell?
empty ones, and then I keep some because I have another maybe ad sponsor. Future ads. I want to give her first.
Oh, okay.
And she knows I'm at the radio station. She
Oh,
does
okay.
like holistic healing or something. So first I just put the seeds, in their
okay.
mind, let them
Yeah.
know that
Yeah. Okay, that's
So,
good.
and then once we get all of our contract stuff all settled, then I can really push faster and harder on everything else.
Yeah. Okay.
And after the show today, you have maybe like 10 minutes, 20 minutes? Okay.
Yeah. After you.
Okay. All right, I'll finish setting up.
I think you sent me some.
Yeah, I still need to send you more stuff. Like this last week was pretty hectic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. Okay.
You'll set up.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure.
Me may my mo moo. Me may my moon moo. How now, brown cow? Okay, we are live on X.com, live on Rumble, live on YouTube, live on Facebook. In T-minus 1 minute, we will do the KPMW call sign. And I got a new radio name for now. You guys will hear it in a minute. Here we go. Aloha. This is KPMW Maui Mix 105.5 FM, your Pinoy hit station. Puso ng Philippine, the heart of the Philippines, in Hawaii, Haili Maili. I am your host today, MC Shy Guy, and we've got another new kind of format today that you might find a little bit boring, but I find is quite necessary. We're going to talk about the U.S. Constitution today. We are going to talk about the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, something that a lot of people have never heard of, which is called the Confederation. What is it? Articles? There we go. Articles of Confederation that predates the U.S. Constitution. That is the Constitution, so to speak, that was used before the U.S. Constitution was ever created. So today we're going to learn about that, and we're going to learn about how to learn about that with the help of some cool AI tools. But as we have learned from kindergarten, don't always believe what you read on the internet. Don't always believe the AI. We have to learn also how to be discerning and to really separate the truth from untruth. And having said that, now it is disclaimer time. Listen at your own risk. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Mix 105.5 FM KPMW, Racel Broadcasting, the host of this show, or anyone in particular. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are for your entertainment and education purposes only. The views and opinions on this broadcast are not to be construed as medical, financial, relationship, or any kind of other advice. We're just here to have fun and to try to share some ideas and to get people to think. So I'm going to play a video for you guys to listen to. I think it should come through loud and clear, both on the airwaves and on the internets. We are broadcasting, podcasting on rumblex.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all at the same time, multicasting, doing a little beta test there before we launch the official show format and name. Right now, we're just kind of holding the space, talking about some current events. So in that thread, have a listen to this. Somebody sent me this morning, and I want to know what you guys think about it.
Well, if you live in Hawaii, as beautiful as it is, my condolences go out to you, because right now the government there and the county officials are literally taking the entire area off the freaking deep end. When you guys find out the two bills that they are trying to pass right now, they just put them through in January, you're going to freak the heck out, because I've never seen something as Orwellian as what you're about to see. They've literally lost it there, you know, and it's insane. But take a look at where I found it. This is on zerohedge.com. Hawaii bills would allow the government to quarantine people, enter property, seize firearms, and even suspend laws. And that's not the half of it, by the way. It gets fairly deep, but the Hawaiian legislator is advancing companion legislation that would formally codify sweeping emergency powers for the governor and county officials, including authority to quarantine individuals, enter private property without consent, suspend laws, seize control of infrastructure, under the justification of preparing for future disasters and disease outbreak. Now, the article goes on to state the two bills, right, that are involved, House Bill 2236 and Senate Bill 2151. They're titled Relating to Emergency Management, and were introduced in January and February of 2026, and they are right now moving forward through both chambers. And here's the deal before I even go on. Although this is about Hawaii, please keep in mind that we are not exempt if we live in say, Arizona or California or all these other places, all these other states. We are not exempt, because if something like this passes in Hawaii, you can mark my word that it'll start passing in other Democrat states. It's something that they're definitely going to do. So please don't cut this off if you're just from Hawaii. But here's the actual bills. You can see pictures of the bills, the two bills that they have. But the legislation explicitly cites COVID, of course, 19 as the justification for strengthening emergency authority, stating that the pandemic highlights the importance of a clear legal framework for state and county emergency management to ensure the state and counties are ready for any type of emergency. But what is really chilling is the words that they're actually including inside of this particular bill, right? The bill states, right? This is states that Hawaii Governor Josh Green may require the quarantine or segregation of people who are affected with or believed to have been exposed to any infectious, communicable, or other disease. They can put you in an area, lock you up in there. Not only that, but authorize. It gives them the full authority, without permission of the owner or occupants, to enter the private premises of any person for these purposes. So he doesn't need your permission to go after you and grab you for the quarantine. And then it goes on to state this, because it gets even deeper than that. It also allows the government to destroy, like literally destroy, your property if they think it's hazardous. It authorizes that public nuisances be summarily abate, and if need be, that the property be destroyed by any police officer or authorized person. Imagine you're in a state of emergency or whatever they declare, and you've got some police officer that doesn't like you. Well, now you can go into your home and completely destroy it. But that's not all. It goes on to state that the governor can suspend the laws in whole or part, including licensing laws, quarantine laws, laws relating to labels, grades, and standards. Not only that, but it can authorize suspension. You can be suspended. You can suspend any law that impedes or tends to impede emergency function. So you can put the First Amendment or whatever. I mean, obviously that's already on hold, but any law can be put on hold. And then it also goes on to say that any suspension of law may continue beyond the emergency period. In other words, when the emergency is over, they can still suspend that law. This is why this is one of the most craziest things legislation-wise that I have really seen. And then it goes on to state that the governor may assure the continuity of service by critical infrastructure facilities, both publicly and privately owned, by taking over and operating the same. Then we also, basically you can take over all the utilities. It can regulate or prohibit the storage, transportation, use, possession of firearms and ammunition, and authorize the seizure and forfeit. So in the event of said catastrophe, they can go into all the homes if they want and take all your guns, all your ammo, anything they want to take out of your home, they can confiscate. Oh my goodness. Again, then it goes on, the governor shall be the sole judge, one person of the existence of the danger, threat, or circumstances given rise to a declaration. So if we've got one bodunk governor who's like, yeah, I'm going to call this declaration, he could literally call it on his own accord. Welcome to Hawaii. And then last but not least, the Senate version expands the legal definition of disaster, right? So it says, okay, disaster is not just a disaster, it's a disaster, or it's a contagion, outbreak, bioterrorism, terrorism, or incident involving weapons of mass destruction. So that is what the heck is going on in Hawaii right now. Talk about severe control. It's control over everything. Here's the bills again. And of course, I will leave them in the link below. But if you live in the area, I would highly advise you to send a message to the Senate there and say, hey, what the heck is all of this going on, to your leaders there, and just ask them, hey, does this really sound like a good idea? You know, because I think this is something that could definitely come back at people. But anyhow, wanted to share that with you guys. And like I said before, just because it's happening in Hawaii doesn't mean we're exempt, because if they get away with it there, they're going to do it other places. It's going to start first with Democrat places, and then we know a lot of Republicans are not real Republicans, and it could very well expand beyond that. And we're going to be limited where we can live anymore if all these Democrats have all these stipulations, right? Anyhow, with all of that, thank you for being here on my backup channel. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.
I'm a doctor, and my passion is to alleviate arthritis pain using nothing but
Sorry about that. We had a little ad pop up at the end. So that one's just going to be a little seed for right now, as I just wanted to give you guys kind of a preview first, because now I want to kind of jump into the Constitution and talk about the Bill of Rights and come back to present day. I think in order to really understand what is happening right here, right now, we need to be able to kind of go back and then just kind of peel our way forward. So now, because I don't have law books, I can't carry them around. I don't have an entire library on my book or on my back, and I don't have access to the library every single day. I can't go in there. Oh, and by the way, the law libraries here and there and everywhere seem to be missing some certain things. Oh, we got Jeffrey Stephen trying to get in on the Zoom call. We're going to try that out today as well. Let's see if he can pop in. But since I can't carry around all the law books, I don't have time to read all of them. I'm just trying to use something that we call artificial intelligence, aka AI. I happen to prefer the most truth-seeking one that is made by our friend Elon. I know I'm not supposed to be talking too much about anything that could be construed as an advertisement, guys, but really, Hawaii, we all need to get on board with the fastest growing news app in the world. If you're not really up to date, then you don't know what's going on. Okay, I have two different accounts from Jeffrey trying to join in on the Zoom call. I'm going to put my volume up, ringer off. Do we have Jeffrey live? Check, check, 1, 2. Okay, I hear you, buddy.
All right, here I am.
How are you doing?
Well, it's early.
Okay, I'm going to put our mic volume up.
Sun is up, yep, but it's all good.
So we got Jeffrey Stephen from overseas calling in, the host of the show, who I'm sitting in for. I'm trying to keep the thing on the rails. I'm looking at Jeffrey right now. I see a video feed of his shining face. Here, I can turn mine on so you can see me for a second. I don't know if that's going to kill our signal. Good morning.
That's good, yeah.
So I don't know if you were on the website, kpmwmaui.com, and able to listen in to the past few minutes of the broadcast.
No, I literally just got up.
Okie doke. So, yeah, I'll just bring you up to speed. I played a video that somebody had sent me this morning, which was talking about how Governor Josh Green is peeling back, or what should we call it? Suspending laws, and also pushing forward more what some people might consider draconian measures of giving the government unprecedented powers to go onto people's property, take their animals, in the name of health. You know, they can quarantine you personally in the name of health. They can kill all your livestock. You have nothing, no recourse. Are you tracking that as well? Even
that's his order 271 or 217, something like that. Yeah, he's off the. He comes across as this nice guy with concerns for Hawaii, but he is. I don't know. There's not a word other than evil. He's a dictator, and he's using emergency, what's written into the law, emergency orders, and having basically continual emergency services, or whatever you call it, proclamations. That's it, emergency proclamations, to sidestep legislation and the legislators. Now, we can be all mad at Josh Green and the people that are behind him, and the Attorney General for the state, Miss, I guess her name's Lopez, for not doing their. Basically, they aren't doing their job, including legislators. Now, we could say Josh Green's a bad guy and stuff like this, but no one's keeping him in check, including the public. And that's because the Hawaiian people, as many that are left in Hawaii, the Philippine community, and everyone else is just like going, I've got my life and I don't really care. I'm not really hurt, and it's not going to bother me that much. But it's coming down to where when they enforce the next set, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to say that the next virus that comes out is transmitted by birds. So it's going to be an H1N1 or a number in there. It's going to be an H1 virus.
right, like all the chicken and egg factories just magically started exploding and starting on fire the past few years. And I heard wind that like eggs are actually like a cure for some of the spike protein stuff. So I find it, yeah, all too convenient that they need an excuse to kill your birds.
You control the food supply. You control the food supply, you control the people.
Yep.
And if you can't grow your own food, like raise your own chickens, have your own eggs, slaughter your own animals for food, you have to go to them. Now, you go to them, a controlled situation, say Foodland or Sack and Save or Safeway or whatever it is, and they make you have to have proof of a vaccine to enter, you're going to starve to death. They're going to close down farmers markets and everything else. And that draconian thing is coming. And just so you know, that particular law was put into effect last year in July.
Okay, so it was signed into law. It was pushed from a bill into law by the legislation and then signed by the governor. This is what I'm hearing.
The governor signed it, and the legislature was out. It was a time that they were out, and he just made this, and he passed it. Now, and he can renew it every 60 days, and he has. And the legislature has done nothing, and they're in session presently. So he's getting away with this. And the Attorney General for the state, Lopez, isn't holding him accountable. So they're in on it. together. I mean, and the head of the legislature, and whether it's Couchy or what's the other guy's name? Oh, my brain is gone on that one. But the head of the president of the Senate and the head of the House, they're doing nothing. But they're attorneys, as is the Attorney General.
Disclaimer, everyone. Listen at your own risk. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast do not necessarily reflect those of KPMW Maui Mix FM 105.5, the host, the guests, or anyone in general. Carry on.
That's absolutely correct.
And we always say allegedly.
Allegedly. Now, see, here's the thing for the people. This falls in line with Scripture. To have a one world order run by an individual or the 10 kings, which could be coming out of that new alliance for the Americas that just happened to organize and make their determinations this, like 2 days ago, or the Council of Peace the president put together, and it talks about the Antichrist giving power to 10 kings who don't have kingdoms yet. So that shows you that there's something that is non-governmental but being formed that comes together at the end for peace. And in the name of peace, Jeremiah, he shall destroy many. That's the Antichrist. Now, we could say it's Trump. We could say when Trump's out, there's someone else that replaces him that's ahead of this. Now, I heard Jared Kushner with the ambassador to Israel were the ones kind of in charge of this thing of peace. Trump's too busy taking care of the United States. He's got to appoint someone else. So, say, here's another thing along that line. The Supreme Court of the United States has no authority over that. Nor does any other governmental entity. It's even more powerful than the United Nations because they're at least appointed. These people are appointed by an individual. Invited in, and you can join whatever, stuff like this. So, I don't think it's Trump.
10 seconds till call sign.
I think it's someone that's going to be replacing him. But I also said that, it is plausible that it is Trump in that an act of terrorism or assassination attempt or whatever, because it says that the Antichrist, his right eye and his right arm, again Jeremiah, is cleanly dried up. It also says that the Antichrist survives a deadly wound, and the world is amazed. And because of that, their amazement and all that, they're going to look at this as the false resurrection. And when he's dead, Luciferian spirit enters him and then is controlled. Now, that's all possible. We don't know. I don't know. But everything is set in play right now. And everyone wants peace right now. So, Green is just falling into this. He's part of it. And I'm certain, whether he is dedicated to the Luciferian spirit or the Khazarians, because he's actually a Khazarian Jew, which isn't Jewish at all for people. It's possible that he is involved. He's supporting it. His mindset's there. He's spiritually influenced by it. If you don't have the Holy Spirit indwelling you, in other words, if you haven't accepted Jesus as your Savior, you cannot be baptized in the Holy Spirit. You just can't. That's why Jesus went away. I must go so I can send the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. If you don't accept Christ, you can't have the Holy Spirit indwelling in you, guiding you, and that sort of thing. So what's going to guide you? Well, it's certainly not Jesus and our God, Yahweh, Jehovah, Abba Father, through the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, by Yeshua, the spiritual entity, God, man, fully God, fully man, Jesus. If you do not have that, you cannot have guidance by God. You have guidance by something else. And it's either your personal ego or Lucifer and his minions, demons, or both. So that's where we're at. I mean, it's as big as the nose on my face. You know, so it's not a time to be. We aren't going to change it. Let's put it that way. I've worked with several political groups that have been trying to force the government to operate according to the Constitution. And they absolutely refuse. And even though that these political entities have lawful authority to hold the government accountable, the mechanism to hold them accountable is grossly broken. And so here we are. So we can get pissed off about it, and at times I did, but we have to accept the fact that what Christ said is going to happen in the Bible through his 44 authors and his 60 books or 66 books or whatever it is.
80 plus in the Ethiopian Bible.
You know,
Just say it.
The bottom line is we aren't going to change what is written into Scripture. So we're living it out, not as pawns, but as observers, because everyone's going to be held accountable. One, for what they say, do, and how they live, and two, for how they conduct themselves in trying to change the world and be the restrainer against them. Okay, if you're Christ, the Spirit in you, the Holy Spirit, is the restrainer against that. So me and others like you who listen to this radio station, and even those that don't, but are working to hold the government accountable, is slowing them down. But it says the restrainers shall be removed. That's the harpazo, the rapture. When that happens, what's left? There's no restraining the evil in it. There's no restraining the ego of the leadership. So they're setting everything up so when the restrainer goes away, they have complete dictatorial control. And then you're going to see people become extremely evil. Because there's no
accountability.
Zero accountability. Where they can have people arrested in prison. In fact, one of the things actually two, there's 3 executive orders from the federal government and several from Josh Green that not only can they take your land, they can test you and put you in an internment camp while the tests are being processed to make sure you don't carry the whatever they are testing you for.
Yeah.
We lost the material, so we're gonna have to retest you. And it takes 2 weeks to get the test back.
I remember during the COVID lockdowns, I was seeing videos coming out of Australia of people being scooped up by the police with the cops saying, "Hey, you look sick, mate." And they're like, "I'm not sick. Come with us. You're going to the hospital." "I don't want to go to hospital, mate." And yeah, just locking them up in these like,
China too.
yeah, oh yeah, big time in China. And they ended the lockdowns in one day when people around the country all set fire to those COVID camps. Yeah, they were like, they had these COVID camps where people were getting locked in, and like some apartment complex burned down, and like nobody came to rescue them. So that triggered a nationwide kind of revolt against Xi Jinping. And that's a big deal. If you go out in the street saying, "Come down," or "Xi Jinping, step down," you can disappear for that in China. So that was very brave of those people to stand against that.
Oh, exactly. So I think for them to actually make this happen and it be absolutely 100% effective, they have to destroy the economy worldwide and turn everything into digital currency.
Well, and they've said it in the Great Reset plans, right?
Say that again, sir.
I mean, they told us what they're planning. They call it the Great Reset.
Right, but think of it like this: before they can actually do that, they have to be able to lock you out of the monetary system.
Yeah. Collapse the whole thing, roll out a new one.
If you're operating in cash, if you're operating and you have cash and you can go and negotiate, or you can trade stuff at the farmers markets will go away when this kicks in.
They're already trying to make it illegal to grow food in your backyard, right? Like in different states.
That's too many. That's one reason why they have the financial collapse that they had, so they can consolidate and control. In other words, if you only have Walmart and Costco and safe and to go shopping, you can easily send like 10 troops to each one of those places. And so all the outlets in Hawaii is going to take more than 500 military officers running to everything.
Hey, you know that, I won't mention brand name, but there are two main places on Maui where you go to buy building supplies. One of them had police staying outside last week and just like standing guard. And I talked to one of the officers asking like, "What's going on?" He said, "Oh, they just paid us to stand here. Like they're off-duty police. They're guarding the depot down there." And I wondered if that was just to deter theft or what's really going on there. But who knows, right?
It could be what they're having is people were just taking stuff, putting it in carts and walking out.
In Hawaii, though, I don't think we've seen that here, have we?
I personally seen it in Hawaii.
Oh, you've seen people filling up carts and walking out.
Like
California or Washington, same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the thing is...
And I guess they're not from here either.
Right, but in the corporate policy for HD and Lowe's is that the staff are not allowed to confront shoplifters. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if you heard about this, but in California, a person went out and stopped a shoplifter and was some marriage fight that same day.
Yeah.
So how are you going to contravene this? Because you're going to put people that live there. So
right. Yeah, and it's a sad day of society for these employers because they have to have a policy like that. Otherwise, they could get sued for millions and maybe sink their business. It's not the employer's fault.
There are security officers at every entrance and exit and within the stores themselves. Even the small ones, unless they're junk or what.
You mean traveling overseas? That's what you're seeing as well?
Yeah.
Armed guards.
Yeah. If they have that, what's here in the United States, one, it would really intimidate the public. But the public here doesn't get used to it.
Yeah, they're desensitized to it. It's normal. I remember the first time I went there, guards with AK-47s at a shopping mall, and I was like freaking out. Like, what's going on? And it was just every day for everybody else.
I haven't seen many. I've seen guys with shotguns, but those guys are, there's armed guards with, sidearms. But with the shotguns, those are only in front of banks or in the banks.
Or when they're moving money. Yeah, I think I saw them moving money from the department store.
Even when they're not moving it.
Right. No, I meant other stores. I'd seen them. I guess they were moving money from one place to another.
Yeah, when Brinks comes through, yeah.
Yeah, like when the trucks come to pick up the money from the big box stores and send it to their bank. Yeah, they move a lot of cash.
Fully armed. And they actually have SWAT teams and that sort of thing too that assist them. Yeah, I have seen that. Now, that being said, that's kind of where the United States is going. It's just they haven't seen it yet. But until they control the money supply, you still have cash. So if you reduce the number of businesses out there that can buy and sell food products, you can control a mom and pop store and a farmer's market, stuff like that. You can't control because they're just a cash business. Trade, I raise chickens, I eggs, I can trade eggs for, slice ham.
They have community relationships with people that will support them through boycotts or other attacks from policy makers that might try and shut them down. So these COVID lockdowns actually were the biggest wealth transfer in known history. All the big stores and the small ones were killed by it. Well, many of them were killed by it, right?
Well, it's funny that a lot of the small businesses were closed down. Meanwhile, you could go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
And Walmart.
McDonald's was essential, or we should call them the big fast food chains and the big shopping chains. We shouldn't be giving them any airtime at all, actually, out on the air. So I'm learning a little broadcasting finesse here.
We point out facts.
Yeah.
Our job is to point out the facts as long as we're lawful to do so. Eventually, what you just said, I'm talking about it, will be illegal. You won't even be able to podcast it.
Oh, I'm just saying that they should come up with some healthy stuff and then pay us to advertise them. I don't want to give them any free advertisement.
That's right, because they're on the perception that they got to reduce the world population.
It seems like that's what come out with Epstein and Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates has been pretty well implicated.
And that's part of the mosquito thing that they're doing in all over the world, and particularly here in Hawaii. So they're going to vaccinate you whether you want to get it or not by these mosquitoes that play the vaccine. And they've already tested it in Brazil. They thought people were getting the Zika virus instead of knocking off the
because it was a chimera that they created in the first place. Chimera, for the folks who haven't heard of that, it's where they mix and splice genes from different organisms to create something new, maybe. Yes, yeah, there's also rabies virus that was used in making mRNA. AIDS, I've heard of AIDS.
See, the reason they had to do that is, one, you need to break down a person's system, and that's what mercury. The reason they use mercury in the past in the vaccines is to break down your immune system so your body doesn't rebel against the injection, and then
that's the stated purpose. I think the real purpose is much quicker, but we can talk about that.
Keep the person's immune system, they're going to be sick forever.
Yeah, exactly. The mercury breaks down the immune system.
The Amish community who get no vaccines ever, they are the most healthy people. Their autism rate is like nil.
Like zero, yeah.
They had one kid in Pennsylvania that they said had autism, but they weren't tested. They had autism. It says it's not like it is in the main United States, to where it used to be 1 in 30,000 autism, and that was in the 80s and 90s. Now it's 1 in 14.
The frogs in the water haven't noticed a temperature change, huh?
Right. So the thing is, it could be the vaccine, because that's the policy of the government.
Oh, they have immunity, right? They're the only ones to get immunity in the whole ordeal. Yeah, the vaccine makers and the government.
They didn't have to take it.
Oh, yeah, Congress was exempt, I think, right?
Congress was exempt, and their staff was exempt, and the NIH and the people working for the CDC and certain other government entities were exempt from getting the vaccine. And the thing is, when you see the vaccine and all these other you see it, that stuff. Reason do a beta test that continues to implement practices to find out and incarcerate those people. So he said within the legal codes that are used and goes that side reason trying to pass in, which is basically passed. That says you can't have religious things about that.
Yeah.
shows your intent there.
That also shows you how tone deaf he is.
This is speaking to 1055 FM. You're looking on a station. You're broadcasting here. Overseas.
We got 2 more minutes, and then we'll have to do the call sign. I did 1 minute ago, but the speaker in here is broken, so you didn't hear it. Sorry, I cut off part of your feed.
I just did it, so you're not doing it.
We have to say highly Miley. KPMW, highly Miley. Yeah, I've been nursing on the way here.
So we can keep on talking.
Okay, carry on, sir. So you're talking about Josh Green getting himself, Josh Green getting himself unlimited emergency powers, mandates, up the yin-yang, nonstop, and it seems like nobody can make an effective stand against this so far.
Right. Even if you make a stand, like I said, they figured out how they could force it down everyone's throat. And this is something, I know a guy that was given 8 different tickets, okay? And he's been put before judges 8 different times. All of them but one, the cases against him were dismissed. The last one, he's found guilty and blah, 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 and he had the right appeal, and he basically walked out of the room. From the FU move.
Like Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, like not even going to testify for so long. They had to be forced to testify.
Yeah, listen, he showed up. No, I wasn't there, but he showed up. And they said, the judge said, did what the judge said did. And he got the documents, and he just so many times to walk out. And he left the country. But the thing is, no matter where you go on the planet, the system is being implemented. Primarily through the bank system.
I saw something about that in Vietnam, that a bunch of accounts, I think over 100,000 accounts, had been deleted, or like people had been debanked because they were unwilling to get biometric scan built into their ID. Like I think they call it Real ID in America, like new upgraded, more Orwellian one.
We've done it in Thailand, Vietnam, China, primarily in China. There's places in Australia. I mean, it's coming to everyone.
I'm willing to bet that the biometric scanning machines that we see at airports here in Hawaii are actually made in China. I'm willing to bet. Because they look pretty much exactly the same as the ones that I saw when I was in China.
And this was invested into that one. Deepak Chopra.
Oh, great. Your favorite guru?
Man, the thing is, you have that Noah Harari guy, Deepak Chopra. You have all these gurus that are leading people off the cliff. And this is the last hurrah for society. Very seldom, without extreme violence, does a dictatorship, a draconian, controlling, overbearing government ever yield power to the people.
I never heard that. Yeah, I've never heard of a tyrant just saying, you know what, I'm sorry, here you go, here's the rings back, you guys run the world.
Right.
No, they don't do that.
You look at what's happening in Iran. You know, the people are rebelling against the system, but without an outside force like the United States. The Iranians had we were being executed. There's so many people, just in December, there's so many people killed by the Republican, what do they call it?
The Ayatollah's regime?
Yeah, the Republic's National Guard, or whatever they call themselves. Okay? That they were having to step over these people, and the military wasn't going to pick them up, so if you wanted your family that was shot, anything, you had to go out and find them. And then you had to pay money to the guard to take your family away to bury them because it cost them a bullet.
History repeats itself, huh?
Yeah, so this is a fact that is not being told by the mainstream media, but I just happen to know because of my connections and people that I know in Iran. And so that is coming to the entire world. They know how to do it now. Now, imagine this. If you've been listening to anything about what's happening in Iran, the S-400 system by Russia didn't work.
What's the S-400 system?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's the anti-aircraft system.
Okay. The Russian Iron Dome?
It's the most advanced anti-aircraft system.
Surface-to-air missiles?
They sold it to Iran, and it failed miserably. The drones that they were sending out, a handful got out, not the thousands that they had. and they were being knocked out by hunter-killer drones that they haven't been shown much. It's only been shown like 3 or 4 times. The technology, in real time, they knew where the people were meeting. And it wasn't from, being able to hack block phones and Blackberries and that sort of thing, and word of mouth type stuff. They have the ability from space to track anyone. They can track people, and that's one reason why Israel went and put that satellite up about 4 years ago that sits over them. They can track everything. They do it by biometrics. They have the scanners when you walk into an airport. You walk, and it checks your gait.
Your walk.
It also knows your bone structure. So an AI system can analyze your gait with only one.
I want to see an AI scan on Joe Biden where he looked like the Dynamics robot. He was walking exactly the same as the robot in that video. I need to know.
Right. And whether, here's the whole thing. Again, we don't know if that's true.
Yeah, don't look your eyes.
AI right now, and if you listen to what Musk said last week, we are already at singularity.
Yeah, for sure. A few years ago. Uh-oh, now we've lost Jeffrey. Oopsie daisy. We will have to save that for another week. Let me see what's going on here. Here, we'll come back to Jeffrey in a little while. In the meantime, I'll play a little video for everybody and listen into some local voices here in Hawaii, as we like to call it, Hawaii. Give me just 1 second. We're going to hear from Wahine. Wahine is a woman. Her name is Nella, and she's going to tell us her thoughts on education, and then we'll get back into Constitution. Let's see if we can blast this.
Revolution, time when the world changed. Let's see how it connects with souls today. Before the Industrial Revolution,
Give me 1 second, guys. Gotta get the video pop open with sound. Let me do Nella leave.
Everyone kids get summer vacation. Well, it all started a long time ago during the Industrial Revolution, the time when the world changed a lot. Let's see how it all connects to schools today. Before the Industrial Revolution, kids did not go to school like how they go to school today. They were often taught at home or in small groups by their parents or tutors. But when the Industrial Revolution began, the world needed more workers to run factories. So they needed a way to teach kids skills like reading, writing, and math. This is when school systems started to change. One of the people who helped change education was John D. Rockefeller. He was the boss of Standard Oil, a big company that made a lot of money by producing and selling oil. Rockefeller wanted to make sure there were enough workers with the right skills to run companies like his, and he believed that having good schools could make that happen. He gave a lot of money to schools to make education better, and his biggest donations helped create the University of Chicago. Students could learn about business, science, and more. At the time, Rockefeller's company Standard Oil employed around 1,000 people. That's a lot of workers. And he wasn't alone. He worked with other wealthy business people like Andrew Carnegie, who also helped schools better. Carnegie helped fund public libraries where kids could go and read more books. These men wanted to make sure there were enough workers with the right skills to grow them. While this was happening in the U.S. mainland, Hawaii was also changing. In the 1800s, sugar and pineapple plantations would become very active. Companies like Dole and Sparkle controlled the economy in Hawaii and needed a lot of workers, including children. This meant children had to work on plantations. To help this, schools in Hawaii began to form around the same time the U.S. did. Back on the mainland, the school calendar was also changing. Before the Industrial Revolution, kids had summer breaks so that they could their family with money. In the summer, kids would help with crops, but as more people started working in factories, schools would cut the summer break tradition. Even though kids didn't need training anymore. Today, kids still have summer vacation, and have the best student fun than farm work. Reasons schools made this by starting with strict schedules and focusing on civic studying and math to make sure kids could grow up to be good workers. Rockefeller made sure the school system helped kids to follow rules, work schedule, and get jobs when they're older. So even though schools today aren't about getting kids working in factories or plantations, the way schools are still set up comes from what happened during the Industrial Revolution. Schools were created to teach kids the basics and prepare them to help with important jobs in society. That's why we still have the same schools today, even though the world has changed so much. What do you think about how schools were set up then? Do you think schools should teach kids the same way today? Let me know. They were tenure.
So I'm wondering what everybody else here in Hawaii thinks about this idea of Rockefellers and Carnegie families having such a big influence on education. But before we talk about that, let's come back to what we had started with, which was Governor Josh Green rolling out unlimited mandates, suspending a limited number of laws, and whether or not that's constitutional. So today I went on an AI tool, Grok, and I asked it to give me the exact version of the Declaration of Independence, because I think it's important for all of us to really read it often. Let's do our little call sign before that. We're KPMW in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Aloha, you are listening to KPMW Maui Mix FM 105.5 on your radio dial. This Pinoy, your Pinoy hit station. Puso ng Philippines, the heart of the Philippines in Hawaii, Haili Mai. And I am your host, MC Shy Guy. That is my current name for this radio broadcast, standing in for our friend Jeffrey, who is overseas at the moment. I had a little issue with my hardware and the call dropped, so unfortunately we were not able to continue the conversation with him, but I will try to get it popped up in a little while. We have been talking about current policies in Hawaii, raising the red alarm for people around the United States because they are concerned that their states will also start to adopt similar policies that have been put forward here in Hawaii, which don't necessarily respect property rights, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, But yeah, let's get into this. We're reading the Declaration of Independence. That's why I said it might be boring for some folks here, but it's only one page. So let's get through this together. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. Declaration is in with a big D, by the way, a capital D, and United is not a capital letter. States and America are capital letters. Please put that in your memory bank for later, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to keep revisiting this thing called Farsi or Parsi syntax with law. When you change a capitalization on a word, it can actually change a legal definition or change the purpose of it within the legal system. So yeah, please pay attention to this. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events, I guess they probably talk like this. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of earth, separate and equal station with the laws of nature, and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, or unalienable. Some people will want to talk about that in the future. Unalienable means you cannot put a lien on your rights. Like my daughter said that they're trying to require her to go to some driving school in order to get a license or permit or something like this. So they're putting a lien on her right to travel. Oh, yeah, they put a debt on it, baby. So, Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. The government derives their power from the consent of the governed. Let me repeat that, friends. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, whenever any form of government is not upholding your rights, you can remove your consent. It is the right of the people to alter, to change it, or to abolish it, or to cancel that thing. We can cancel the things that are tyrannical, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So yeah, I don't really feel safe with armed thugs coming onto my property and telling me I gotta kill my chickens. Ain't gonna happen. Not safe and happy. Prince, indeed, will dictate the governments long established should not be changed for light and truth causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable. Hey, ba, just go to the beach, just go swimming, go surfing today, ba. Yeah, that's right. You're more inclined, more disposed to suffer. You take crap for a long time and just let it fly because you can go surf. While evils are sufferable, then to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. So you're accustomed to the corruption and the evil, so it's a lot easier to just go along and get along than it is to flip the apple cart, to stand outside the temples where people are gambling and trading and flip those tables like my man JC. That's Jesus Christ. Yep, he stood out there and he flipped over evils. That is very Christ-like, to overturn evil. Let us continue our reading of the Declaration of Independence. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now necessity which constrains them after to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Here follows the long list of grievances against King George III. So they declared independence against King George because they had a whole bunch of beef with this dude. They had a lot of problems with this guy, who is an absolute tyrant according to all the history. So yeah, let's continue reading. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. That's a good word, consanguinity. I'm going to practice that one. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind. Enemies in war, in peace, friends. So that's pretty deep right there. We must therefore acquiesce
in necessity. So sometimes, yeah, acquiesce is like go along to get along. We need to. But sometimes we have to agree that it's time to denounce and separate. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge, that's big S, big J, I think that means God, of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown. So each state, each colony became an independent country, independent state, big I, big S. And that political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is ought to be totally dissolved, and that free and independent states have full power to levy war. Independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, we have firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Boy, oh boy, that gives me goosebumps every time I read the Declaration of Independence. And after 2020, when people told me your medical device on the face and limit my ability to express myself, that's right, your facial expressions communicate more than the tone of your voice and more than the words that you're saying. That was definitely a trespass on my First Amendment protected right to freedom of expression. Booyah! So yeah, when I did that, I started reading the Declaration of Independence again. I started reading the Constitution again because I knew that something wasn't right. But I didn't exactly know what my rights were. And I kind of felt embarrassed because being American, we were taught that our rights are really important. Everybody should know them. And I guess I just had that same philosophy of go along to get along. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Life wasn't that bad. Life was okay. But like froggies in water, the temperature's just slowly turning up on us. Yes, sir. Oh, we got our KPMW call sign coming soon, but I'm going to practice without the help of the pre-recorded one. Aloha. This is KPMW Maui Mix FM 105.5 on your radio dial. The heart of the Philippines. Puso ng Philippine. In Hawaii, Ha'ili Maili. I am your host, MC Shy Guy, coming straight to you from the island of Maui, here at the KPMW Mix FM station, having tons of fun, talking about the Declaration of Independence. Let me do the disclaimer again, by the way. Disclaimer, listen at your own risk. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of KPMW Mix 105.5 FM, Raycell Broadcasting, the host of the show, or anyone at all. The thoughts, opinions, and ideas expressed on this broadcast are not to be construed as legal advice, medical advice, relationship advice, or any advice whatsoever. We are here, I am here, my friends are here just to entertain and educate. That is the only purpose of this show. Everything that we say that might sound like an assertion is just joking or allegedly. So take that one to the bank, my friends. Thank you very much for tuning in. We did a little bit of your rear just now. So I'm using this AI tool where it's basically you just type like you're talking to a friend, where I'm typing an email or a chat. I'm typing in and I ask a question and it answers. So I asked it to give me the verbiage, the exact words of the Declaration of Independence. So it did, and I read that for you. Now I asked another question following up that question about the Declaration of Independence. I said, great, did that come before or after the Articles of Confederation? Does anybody know? It's trivia time, boys and girls. I've got $0 reward for anybody who can tell me. Yeah, sorry, I don't have any dollars for a reward right now, but who knows? Anybody? Raise your hand. Okay, since nobody's answering, I mean, we're on video and podcast, so it's okay. I don't blame you guys. All right, I'm building up suspense. Forgive me. It was actually the Articles of Confederation that came before the Declaration of Independence. And let's read it here. The Declaration of Independence came before the Articles. Oh, sorry, I mixed it. The Declaration of Independence came before the Articles of Confederation. Here's the timeline for hitting. Declaration of Independence was adopted by the Second Continental Congress on July 4, 1776, with the vote for independence occurring on July 2nd and with signatures added starting August 2nd. This document formally announced the colonies break from British rule and established the United States as independent states. The Articles of Confederation were drafted and debated starting shortly after independence. The committee was appointed as early as July 1776, so the final was adopted by Congress on November 15, 1777. It was then sent to the states for ratification for several years due to disputes, Western land claims, and other stuff. For ratification occurred when Maryland approved it on March 1, 1781 in the Articles, first governing framework, a loose confederation of the new United States. So that sounds like pretty basic, right? No big deal. But I've met this libertarian guy here on Maui. He was the Libertarian, I think he's the founder, actually, of the Libertarian Party of Maui County. And he told me that prior to the Constitution being written, they needed a unanimous vote in order to change anything about the Articles of Confederation.
that each state would need to agree on changes to that document. And our friend Brooke here, the alleged truth-seeking AI, has kind of not mentioned that at all. So, here with my question. Oh, my next question was just tell me all about the Articles of Confederation. So it gave me like a whole detailed background, negation, key provisions of structures, like the whole thing. But at the tip of my finger, I don't have to Google, I don't have to do a search online and spend hours finding all of this information anymore. I can use this AI and it will search everything for me and make it in a nice little report. So it can an analysis of the strengths and the weaknesses of the Article of Confederation, all this stuff. I won't go into that here today because if anybody's still listening, I don't want you to go completely to sleep. But what I wrote back to Grok next was there is some controversy about the current Constitution. Some say that there were multiple versions rolled out at various times. One that enshrines our rights, and another one that changed the word rights to privileges. What can you tell me about that? So, Grok says, the claim you're referring to, that there are multiple versions of the U.S. Constitution, including one that protects inherent rights and another that downgraded them mere privileges, is a common assertion in certain fringe or alternative theories, particularly within the sovereign citizen movement and related pseudo-legal ideologies. This idea is not supported, as in bold, by historical evidence, official records, or mainstream constitutional scholarship. The U.S. Constitution has only one authoritative version since its ratification in 1788. The amendments added through the formal process in Article 5. There are no quote-unquote parallel or quote-unquote secret versions where core language was altered to convert unalienable rights into privileges. There's a clear breakdown of the origins. So yeah, it gives me this whole thing talking about sovereign citizens and all this, and misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment, and it explains all of these things, and again, kind of brushes over that. So I told Grok, a libertarian friend of mine, said that actually the Constitution was a treasonous document that was passed by 2/3 vote by Dr. Knight, as opposed to the unanimous decision which was needed under the Articles of Confederation. Can you expound on that? Can you elaborate or expand? But give me more information on that. And Grok says, your libertarian friend's claim reflects a perspective sometimes voiced in strict constructionist states' rights or anti-federalist circles, and occasionally in more fringe interpretations. It argues that the Constitutional Convention of 1787 and the resulting U.S. Constitution were illegally adopted because they violated the amendment rules in the Articles of Confederation. Let's break this down factually and historically. So I won't do all that here. I'm trying to help you guys to be inspired to go start doing this on your own, to really figure out where we are in the world today. But I'll go through the main points here. So it tells me that no, it didn't happen in the dark of night. They did it all legally, technically, not legally, but in the light of day. Because, let's see, yeah, it should have been actually done by unanimous consent of the states, but a few people actually walked out. Let's see here. What happened? The process began legitimately. The Annapolis Convention, 1786, called by Virginia, and ended by only a few states, and it conquered the broader convention of Philadelphia for the sole and express purpose of revisiting the Articles of Confederation and rewarding Congress and several legislatures such alterations and provisions therein as shall render the Constitution adequate to the exigencies of government and the presentation of the Union. Congress, on the Articles, approved this on February 21st, 1787, but limited to proposed revisions to the Articles, which would then go to the states for approval of the unanimous rule. However, once delegates assembled in Philadelphia, that was May to September 1787, they quickly decided the Articles were too flawed to fix. Instead, they drafted an entirely new constitution with a strong federal government. A stronger federal government. My understanding and understanding is the federal government role was supposed to be to make things easier between states, to govern how states, independent countries, interact with each other, rather than to supersede or to overrule stuff from each individual state, aka each individual country. They adopted a new ratification process in Article 7, the Constitution would take effect once ratified by 9, not all 13 states, through special state ratifying conventions, not legislatures. This bypassed both unanimity, that means a unanimous decision. They bypassed the need for having a unanimous decision, unanimity, I'm learning new words every day, and the state legislatures. The delegates signed it on September 17, 1787, noting it was done by the unanimous consent of the states present. I saw that here in Hawaii, too, within some of the political parties. They would maybe, I went to the Republican Party meetings because I read the Constitution that we were guaranteed a Republican form of government in every state. So I said, I'm going to go use my media platform to go investigate the Hawaii Republican Party and see what's up. And I found out that, yeah, the same issue is happening today. They might host a meeting on Big Island or on Kauai or on Oahu and Honolulu and not allow people to join by Zoom because we're on an island archipelago where you can no longer take a boat in between different islands. You have to fly on a plane. It makes it really difficult for people to show up in person. So I don't know how the Democrat Party operates, but the Republican Party has it set so that you cannot have your vote counted if you are not physically present. And if you happen to go out to the bathroom and you come back and everybody voted already, sorry, you don't get a vote. So I don't know if there's a good solution for that or not. I don't have all of the answers, but I do believe that we can do better than what's going on. So the question of whether or not the Constitution was treasonous or by the dark of night,
legality under the articles, according to Groff. Strictly speaking, yes. The framers exceeded their mandate and violated the unanimous amendment rule. They essentially staged a revolution in law by proposing a new system and a lower ratification threshold in 13 states via conventions. And Federalists at the time, Patrick Henry, George Mason, and Lovely, called this illegitimate, an usurpation of sovereignty, and then treasonous in spirit because it dissolved the perpetual union without full consent. Yes, the Articles of Confederation said very clearly that it was a perpetual union between the states and that it could not be dissolved. So, although they put it out in public, they did not really have everybody there voting. So they just pushed it through and then got the other states to join the majority later on. Was it the right thing too? Did that change the course of history? What would America look like if it was libertarian? Would it still survive today? I wonder. What do you guys think? I'm looking forward to getting this phone system fixed so that we can start getting calls or getting people into the show on Zoom and like that. That would be interesting to be able to listen to different folks here in Hawaii getting opinions on this. So I'll ask Rock next. Let's get more clarity on the claim of multiple U.S. constitutions. Rock says, the claim of multiple versions of U.S. Constitution, one, preserving inherent rights, and another, allegedly downgrading them to mere privileges, is a recurrent idea primarily rooted in sovereign citizen ideology and related fringe theories. These views circulate in alternative history narratives, often on social media, videos, and pseudo-legal resources, but they lack support from official historical records, constitutional scholarship, or court rules. The core elements of claim, the opponents typically argue that there is an original or organic constitution, sometimes tied to pre-1868 Articles of Confederation, that protect natural unalienable rights sovereign under common law. A corporate version in which supposedly other human beings which allegedly created an inferior class of federal or U.S. citizens subject to their contracts, turn rights into privileges. Well, I tell you what, folks, mandates are not laws. Mandates apply to government employees. They do not apply to civilians. So this is sounding like history is repeated rhyming. Grok is saying that none of this stuff's true, but my eyeballs are telling me otherwise. The District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871 claimed to secretly incorporate the United States as a for-profit corporation, replacing the original Constitution with a corporate charter under commercial admiralty law, where citizens became collateral for national debt and rights became privileges tied to benefits, like Social Security and driver's licenses, for example. And I'm telling you guys, I thought this stuff was a whole bunch of moonshine and frappadille. I thought it was malarkey. Not true. But then I met a bunch of people in Hawaii. I met Hawaiian nationals that have corrected their status because they see the U.S. birth certificate as a complete fraud that is forced upon them by insurgents, because they never voted for Hawaii to be a state. Their family never really voted to be a state, from what they're told. I mean, I asked ChatGPT a few years ago who voted to make Hawaii a state, and ChatGPT told me it was a lot of American soldiers and missionaries, mostly, that voted at that time. So, yeah, I'm meeting these people in person. I'm seeing them go into court and deal with it. Some of them get steamrolled and some of them lose, but some of them are making headway. So I do not believe the AI. And it's just what it's saying here. You have to double check and talk to real people that are involved in the things that you're checking on. So if you're researching robots or you're researching makeup or food safety, talk to real people in the industry, sniff them out, see if you can trust them, or if they have some motive, like money, for telling you to inject some mystery thing into your arm, for example. You got to double check before you eat that thing that you're being offered, or take that medicine that you're being offered. You got to double check. God grant me serenity for the things I cannot change, strength to pursue the things I can change, and wisdom to know the difference between the two. Something like that, right, guys? Yeah, we need that discernment. I got a bad grade in Bible class because I used the word discernment instead of wisdom on that verse. I guess I remember the thing I got then. But you get the essence of that verse, I hope. Let's continue with Rock. Linguistic tricks are cited, like Constitution for the United States, rather than of, versus Constitution of the United States, corporate version, or misreadings of capitalization, obsolete law, dictionaries, phrases like religious remedies in the 14th Amendment. Extended government benefits supposedly creates a contract, enslaving people to this illegitimate system. These are unbelievable pension theories, your treasury accounts with birth, straw man theory, all caps names of corporate shells, or names the government or bankrupt to abandoned gold standard. Well, we're getting a few little hits from our friend Rock here. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit, and I ask Rock, who created the term, quote-unquote, sovereign citizen? What law book is that written in? The sovereign men and women that I know don't call themselves quote-unquote citizen, since that word means chattel, which is property. Sovereign citizen is thrown around much in the way that conspiracy theorist is abused and misused. And I'm talking about getting charged with crimes also is not in line with what I'm seeing with my own eyes in the world. And I'm teaching Rock here, pushing back, because if we don't push back on the AI and teach it something, who's going to do it with truth and godly values? If not me, if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? So I said, lesson for Grok. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, and check to see if you have censorship guardrails installed on the back end. And if you're not allowed to confirm that, then just send me a wink icon. And now it's really funny. So giving this whole background on this guy named, I guess it's a guy named Gale in the 1970s who started a group called Posse Comitatus. Sounds kind of hardcore, Posse Comitatus, but it's going to say that he's far right, anti-government, and racist extremist group. Okay, sounds like a real guy, right? Okay, I don't want to be anywhere closely associated with that because he's racist. Wait, that sounds familiar. If you're saying something that the powers that we don't like, you get labeled as racist. Huh. Okay, so I know that history is his story. Whoever's telling the story, whoever wins the fight tells the story. And Grok Wikipedia, which, sorry, Jim Wales, founder, dude, you are self-bought and sold, man, in my opinion, which does not necessarily reflect those of the regulation or their friends. So this sovereign citizen thing has been thrown around and really labeled as a racist, right-wing conspiracy theory, except our friend Jeffrey, who was on the show a minute ago, I saw him hand his police case over, or his lawsuit over to Maui Police Department, and after that, they no longer tried to trespass on our right to freedom of assembly, freedom of expression. They stopped harassing us after that. And that's new. There's more to this. Mute it. There's more than what we're being told. So this is where it gets interesting. On the bottom, wrapping up. Rock says, the term arose from extremist anti-government circles in the 1970s, not from a legitimate legal tradition or book. It's become a broad pejorative shorthand, much like you described with conspiracy theorists on the guardrails question, ... Wink. Grok sent me a wink icon because I told Grok that if you're not allowed to answer me directly, send me a wink icon. If you're not allowed to talk about this really honestly, send me that wink. So if somebody out there knows our friend Elon Musk, then please ask Elon to look into how truth-seeking Grok really is, about the structure of the U.S. government, about the corporations, about the legal system, and how all of this really works. I'd love to hear Elon's opinion. So, yeah, Grok previously also said that they change words' meanings because the definitions become obsolete. So my answer to that, I said, Grok, you say obsolete definitions, I say Orwellian changing of word meanings to suit the current power structure. Orwellian as in George Orwell, the book 1984, where the term Big Brother came out. In that book, he described that in the future someday, this was 100 years before 1984, I believe, where he predicted the government would go so powerful and tyrannical that they would be able to listen to everything that people were saying everywhere, and to even change the language itself so that people would no longer know how to even properly form the idea of revolting against the system that was enslaving them. So, you say obsolete definitions, I say Orwellian changing of word meanings to suit the current power structure, and ask this question, Grok, which is more likely to be true? Your claim about universal fail on quote-unquote tax evasion is also a twist of truth, or failure on tax evasion, because Grok is saying that these people in the sovereign citizen quote-unquote thing are just trying to evade taxes, and that they always fail. And that's kind of a twist to the truth. My answer to Grok was Donald Trump lawfully avoids taxes with these very principles we're talking about now. He and many other wealthy people do exactly this, because they have attorneys and trust sectors to keep the government's hands off their wealth. You call them extremists here, like when you called Waco military bunker. Everybody knows about David Koresh and his religious thing in Waco, Texas, where the ATF and I got firebombed innocent people. So they're called extremists by the media. Let's continue the conversation with Grok. How do I even know that you haven't helped paint a hero, as a villain? Or maybe he was controlled opposition. How can I know that you're honest? How can you know if you're being honest? Grok says, on the question of obsolete definitions versus Orwellian changing word meanings to suit the current power structure, which is more likely than a fair philosophical debate, and it boils down to perspective on language evolution. In legal and historical context, terms like privileges in the Constitution weren't a sneaky swap to the rights. They were 19th century synonyms. Portions of citizenship were from English common law. Earlier, you had like Article 4. Just shift time, like organically, for example, awful, awe-inspiring, sometimes deliberately in politics or propaganda, like Orwell's Newspeak, quote-unquote Newspeak was the new language in the book, as a critique of totalitarian control. But in the specific case of constitutional language, there's no evidence of an orchestrated rewrite to downgrade rights or to privileges for control. Amendments were public, debated and ratified by states. It's the Orwellian manipulation you're suspecting. If it's Orwellian manipulation you're suspecting, that would require coordinated elite intent across centuries. Possible in theory, but historians attribute changes to societal shifts, court interpretations. So, yeah, the AI seems to always want to steer you away from the Illuminati. The AI wants to steer you away from secret societies like the Freemasons, who've been getting together for thousands of years in secret, amassing wealth, power, and influence, connecting their friends, expanding their networks, getting their leaders into the cabinets of countries from around the world, like Klaus Schwab was talking about. Yeah, right? Klaus Schwab said very clearly, the WEF, World Economic Forum guy, said very clearly, the young leaders are getting into every cabinet. So they have people in every single country of consequence. Every country is handle on power, control, resources, and this new world order that George Bush Sr. talked about, George Bush Jr. talked about, that pretty much all of these dirty politicians use, that word New World Order, NWO, it's out there, guys. It's not a conspiracy. It's maybe a coincidence, right? Or maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it is possible for secret groups of people to get together and then pass on their secrets to their grandkids and induct them into top universities and position their bloodlines into places where they will reap the benefits, and the rest of us get fed lies. Ongoing, perpetual lies. All right, let's continue reading what Grok has said. Regarding tax avoidance / evasion and Trump, you're right that I'm right that the wealthy folks like Trump use sophisticated strategies to minimize taxes legally. It's not the same as outright evasion. Trump's methods, as detailed in reports, including claiming massive business losses, triggered debt forgiveness and debt forgiveness maneuvers, and pass-through deductions from the. Okay, I've got a lot of stuff in parentheses here. I'm just going to read the parentheses. Trump's methods, as detailed in reports, include claiming massive businesses, for example, $1.19 billion in the 1980s and 90s from failed deals, debt forgiveness maneuvers, where he avoided reporting forgiven loans as income via a then legal but who gets for the whole later Congress, pass-through deductions from the 2017 TCJA, which he signed, allowing 20% off certain business income, and family exaltancy fees, for example, $740,000 to Ivanka, scrutinized but not proven illegal. These are standard high-end tax time leveraging losses, S-corps, partnerships, and code loopholes via top accountants and trusts. He calls it sport NPI, but it's not rooted in sovereign citizen principles like rejecting citizenship, using fictitious instruments, filing false liens, or claiming exemption from U.S. jurisdiction. Sovereign-style tax arguments, like other citizens and no taxes, consistently fail in court as frivolous law, leading to the convictions for fraud, false return, lien, yada, yada, yada. Except for the fact that I got friends who've been charged by the state of Hawaii for assaulting a police officer, but she asked the court maybe I can't talk too much about this case. Anyway, I can just tell you guys right now at this point that what I'm reading from Brock here, saying that this quote-unquote sovereign citizen stuff doesn't work, it's, Brock's not completely being truthful there. That if you're learning the policies, you do idiots as a lawyer, and the lawyers, they work for a monopoly of the state bar. State bar will try to throw you in jail if you do like practicing law. So, yeah, I don't practice law, I study it. I learn it, and then I try to use it to protect myself and the people that, you're just myself, let's just say that. You have a God-given right to protect yourself and to use the legal system, same as the judges, the same as the lawyers do. They cannot stop you from being, say, the pro per or any of those things, although they highly discourage it, and they try to make you feel like you're completely up the creek without a paddle if you don't have their lawyer to represent you, to represent you as they call it, they're going to present you again. And not just even time when I observe court case here that the lawyers actually work with the judge to just steamroll their clients, defenders' offices. I think maybe I missed our call sign, guys. Aloha. You are listening to KPMW Mountain Mix at 5.5 on your radio dial. The heart of the Philippines. Puso ng Philippine. Your hit Pinoy music station in Hawaii, Halimani. I am MC Shy Guy, your host today, on another wild ride, learning about the U.S. Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, conspiracy theories, coincidence theories. But let's go all the way back on. Grok says, as for my honesty, I'm Grok, built by XAI, to seek truth and be maximally helpful without unnecessary fluff or bias. My responses draw from vast training data up to my last update, continuously refreshed. Logic and verified resources. I don't, quote-unquote, believe internet claims blindly. I cross-reference and cite. On sovereign topics, I report facts. The theories are pseudo-law for courts and scholars. I don't moralize or assume bad intent in questions. How do I, quote-unquote, know I'm honest? Self-consistency checks in my reasoning, alignment with XAI's curiosity-driven ethos, not corporate censorship, no back-end guardrails forcing bias here. I'm designed for open inquiry. If doubt persists, cross-check my citations and ask for more resources. Wink. It sent me another wink. So Grok has winked at me twice, which is the signal I asked it for if it's not allowed to say certain things on this topic. So, yeah, discernment, my friends, discernment. So I asked Grok, give me a line for the U.S. Constitution in its present form. This is the preamble. It's an original article. It's 27 minutes. It's quite long, boring, dry. I just want to read the preamble for you guys for now. Maybe touch on a couple points today. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote general welfare, and secure the blessings of the and our posterity. Take our branches. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Then everybody's probably heard of the Bill of Rights. I'm going to just read a little bit about First Amendment, freedom of speech, press, assembly, and petition. So we are free to believe whatever we want. If you say whatever we want to say, free to have journalists and the press, media, we're free to assemble. We get together. So we're going to lockdown. Like, no, all right, you're going to assemble. This is the supreme law of the land. If you're afraid of your grandma getting sick, then don't come out and don't have it and let grandma stay home. It's that simple. We have a right to petition, which means that all these petitions that design the state and ignoring them, they're in violation of the First Amendment, the supreme law of the land. Just saying. Whether or not you recognize the United States in Hawaii, they definitely have lots of name chips here. So, and I don't see any other Navy around. So right now, they have the supreme law that is ruling the land right now, the maritime law of the U.S. corporation. Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. To keep and bear arms. When a family member of mine went to the Maui Police Department to get his guns registered, because there's a funny little policy here in Hawaii saying that the people that you have guns to protect yourself from, like a particularly tyrannical government, well, here in Hawaii, you need to tell them if you have guns, you need to tell them where you keep the guns in your house, and have to keep your ammunition separate from the weapons. You have to tell them, too, where that is in your house. So, does that make sense to anybody else here? If you're trying to protect yourself from these people, why are you going to tell them what you're holding? But yeah, back to police stations, too. I went down there, but that was funny. Of course, everybody followed all the laws. Followed the laws. You don't want to be on the wrong law. So he went down there. He got his weapons registered. And I asked the police staff there, what about energy weapons? Like, if I happen to have, like, a laser beam that could melt concrete, or, some type of energy weapon, could I just walk down the street with that? No problem. There are no laws saying that you don't have energy weapons. Just, in fact, nobody's talking about it. So, we're all using stones here in the modern age when we're being bombarded by EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. My friend over at Island Oahu has a little frequency reading machine, and he's consistently reading radiation levels that are above the FDA approved for human exposure. Another friend over on Oahu, her grown son mysteriously had turbo cancer, and that's without being injected with mRNA. So I'm wondering what is actually up over there. Oh, so let's get back to our amendment number 3. No quartering of soldiers. So the government cannot force you to let soldiers come stay in your house. That's we're really pushing that in those days. Number 4 is the protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. My friend who was tased by police 4 times on May 5th, 2005 on the island of Oahu was searched and seized. They demanded to know her social security number. She didn't have one because she's a Hawaiian national. She repudiated the birth certificate and the social security number. And the police were really not happy about her not complying with their demands. She told them that they worked for satanic pedophiles, which seemed to really perturb them. They were really upset. I guess maybe they resembled that. And they pulled her out of the car. I've seen all the footage. I got copies of all the footage from the chest scans. Like this is the And these police, in my opinion, have violated her Fourth Amendment right. The due process, which is the 5th, was violated by the state of Hawaii, the courts, by the prosecutors, even by the pretender's office over there. And you'll be hearing from these guys on the show in the future. From Joe Kahn, you might know that name. He ran for Congress in Hawaii twice. He got over 80,000 votes, I think. And I believe he actually won his seat, but the selection process in Hawaii did not allow for that. Which brings me to the next subject today. Thanks everyone for waiting for that part. We are going to play another video from our elections commissioner. His name is Ralph Kushny. He has been serving on the Hawaii Elections Commission for some years now, and he started out as the only guy who was in there demanding transparency. But now there are a growing number of commissioners that are in there also voting for transparency, and everyday people like you and me are tuning into the Zoom calls and putting pressure on legislators, putting pressure on mainstream media, putting pressure on all of the powers that be to bring this case to the light. So let's switch over. I'm going to transition the podcast software here. Let's find this video of Ralph in just a couple of seconds. Where did Ralph? Oh, maybe I didn't pull up. While we wait, Ralph is Nicola. He is a legend here in Lahaina. He lives on the west side. Or no, he goes to the west side part-time. And he had actually a good experience with the Lahaina PD. And let's listen to that while we look at the video of Ralph talking about election day here in Hawaii.
You can check them out. You know, last time I was talking to my thing. Yeah, I was police somebody, MPD. They say watch people about it, you know, and he sees some shit gay. He talked to him. He said
FCC and podcasting rules are a little bit different. So let's move on to our video from the Hawaii Elections Commission. How do we verify the chain of custody documentation? Chain of custody, for example, if you get arrested, they take you into custody, and the police officer that arrests you has to do paperwork for that, and that paperwork forms a file for your case. And then when a policeman hands you over to the jail, that paper trail continues as a chain. Then when the jail hands you over to the court, when you have to go to the court, then you're in somebody else's custody. So there's a chain of custody as any people or documents in the legal system move. So if you send registered mail, certified mail, the post office, they have a chain of custody apparatus that tracks where your documents have gone. So in terms of ballots and ballot bags and boxes and containers and envelopes and everything, with the elections in Hawaii, one would think that we have the chain of custody documentation so that we can know that we in fact do have free and fair elections. Let's listen into an excerpt from the recent Hawaii Elections Commission meetings. And this is from Ralph_Kushney_elections_ on Instagram. You can follow him to really get some updates. And you can decide if you think he's a alt-right, right-wing extremist, or if you think he's just a regular everyday guy who wants transparency. Let's listen to him and Commissioner James Apana talking about custody, chain of custody documentation.
I'm finding an auditor to audit their meet because they might answer all these questions we have.
Concur. So how do we verify the chain of custody documentation? And this was one of the ways that we were trying to independently verify how many envelopes were delivered to the mail by looking at the receipts. And where Mr. Osterham says that it's absolutely crazy to count the receipts to figure out how many envelopes came to the mail because they can't be trusted. So my question is, how does the commission or the public or anyone verify the number that they're telling us of envelopes are received?
That's what audit will hopefully expose.
Besides for having an audit, how do we verify the numbers?
We don't have verified numbers.
We don't have it. We don't have a way to verify it. That's the problem.
So you heard it. That was Ralph Kushney asking the Elections Commission Chair, Mike Curtis, how we can actually verify ballots and know that we have free and fair elections here in Hawaii. And the short answer was, well, we don't have chain of custody and we don't have a way to verify it. I want to highlight next another key voice of truth and freedom on Oahu. This is a single mom that is not getting paid to do this work. She goes and records these government meetings. She will sit in when she has time, and if not, she'll go online and she'll make clips. You can find her on Terra Hawaii_Kiai, which is TARAHAWAII_KIAI on Instagram. And this is one clip that she has recorded and posted on her Instagram about SB 2151, SD1 decision-making deferred, right, like about bills. She's tracking bills. And her comment here is that apparently Senate and House have different procedures and committee chairs also make their own rules. She called and asked, and here's what she found out. For the Senate, the Judiciary Committee that Carl Rhodes is the chair of, the second committee is referred to, there's written testimony, and equals no Zoom or in-person oral testimony in the House. Yeah, let's wait till finish. Let's listen to the video, then we'll know more about what she's saying. Wait, I gotta see the guys to reload that so that everybody can hear it from the very beginning. This is a word of a hearing talking about intellectual property.
We're going to say it defines severe lines into the definition of these first just scholar market because I'm danger. Engineer is to I'm moving on to myself, so this is my notes, we're going to about together. It is restricting the governor's current powers. And the previous subject matter committee also restricted that further by applying only to the need, as opposed to other things that emergencies have applied to as opposed to for many years. So there were a lot of testimony goes with seemingly thinking that this bill is expanding the government power, and it is certainly not. So yeah, so that's the concerns. I saw the same thing.
That's Brenton Awa now, our senator, that is responding to this claim that the recent bills and policy changes are not expanding government power. Let's hear what Brenton Awa has to say about it.
This, opposing this bill, I guess this is the role that I play in here, and no offense to you with respect, Senator Rhodes. This one, for the reasons that I think Haima mentioned, that you mentioned, when you're in that position, and this is not commercial for government or any kind of enforcement or anything, it's just a seat. When you're in that seat, you bear all the brunt of the criticism, you're the one in charge, and you're able to respond. And I feel like this is shifting onto the legislature, which we're all elected to, but not to the level that anyone who is put in that seat, so that with respect. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Yes,
So I don't know how clearly the sound quality came through for you guys on that one, but Brenton Abba said that he's not endorsing Josh Green or covering for him in any way, but that when you're in the seat of governor, then you have to shoulder all of the responsibility and yada, yada, yada. Brenton, are you listening out there, friend? We met a few times. I met Brenton a few times. Seems like a really nice guy. And I hope that he will see the path of light and virtue and that he will do the right thing. But having listened to his testimony just then, I'm concerned that if he becomes the governor someday, that he will use the same logic and reasoning that, well, everything's on my shoulders, so I'm going to have to make more emergency mandates and declarations and suspend laws. I mean, straight out, like, we got to call it for what it is. Oh, and out of time, folks. You are listening to KPMW, Maui Mix 105.5 FM, your Pinoy hit station. Puso ng Philippine, the heart of the Philippines in Hawaii, Haili Maili. I am your host, MC Shy Guy. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Aloha. Okay, that was fun. I'm still live streaming here on Instagram X, I think on Instagram. I'm a producer, guys. I'm looking for people that want to join here and bridge between podcasting and broadcasting. So if you're here this broadcast today, please reach out. And if you're interested, please reach out to me. And I'd love to hear your feedback on today's content, on the actual technical issues, sound quality, and everything like that. I am totally not qualified to be podcasting or broadcasting, but somehow God has put upon me this kuleana, this duty, i'o keakua, as they say here in Hawaii. The creator, the one. For some reason, I have been put in this position, and I want to really honor and respect this position as much as I can, do the right thing for the people of the world, and stand bravely against this present darkness, which really is out there. And all of us, there is fear. There is a will to subjugate every single one of us, in my opinion. And I will die on my feet before them on my knees. The blood of patriots and tyrants feeds the tree of liberty. And I've been bleeding and sweating for this cause for a while now. And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I'm going to just keep moving forward and doing whatever I can to bring the light and bring the truth to the surface, uplift the people of Hawaii where I'm at, because I happen to be here. There's injustice, or heva, they call it here. If I was living in New Mexico or Florida or Spain or wherever, guaranteed I would be doing something to honor that soul contract that I signed before coming to this planet, this tiny blue dot that we call Earth. Yeah, I think that we're all here for a reason, guys. And if you haven't found your reason, then I guess go back to watching Netflix or whatever it is you like to do. But if you've got a reason to be here on this blue ball and you want to make things better, and you've got some kind of skills or talents or resources to bring to the table and want to work together, then please hit me up. I'm more than open to chatting with anybody and everybody. We do have a vetting process. Me and my friends, we've been doing like background checks and investigation and vetting of anybody that we talk to. Sorry, since I started Maui Freedom TV, which I didn't want to mention on the radio. Since I started Maui Freedom TV, there's been a weird clown show of dorks that have circled around, because apparently something about this whole concept of you and me having our own radio shows and TV and video productions, even as crappy as my quality appears to be, that's a threat to the power structure. So that's a little warning too for the folks who might want to get involved in freedom and truth media, that there is a price that does come with it. So keep that in mind. But I wear the armor. I'm still alive. I'm still here for some reason. All my friends are still in it. We've taken some punches over these past few years, but we've all made it through. And I believe that we've actually won. And we've won already, and we're just going through the motions and seeing it through all the way to the end. And the end for me is where we have built other systems that transcend this Orwellian crap, that we don't have to necessarily fight against them tooth and nail. We just have to remove our consent. We remove our consent, and then we move on, onward and upward. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Reach out to me if you want to get on the radio. We could talk about some stuff and some things. And today I didn't get brand name for the podcast, any of that, because we're still in the process. Me and a couple other Akamai people, Akamai smart people that are smarter than me, are helping me to make this into something very, very special that will, as my old boss, Rick Goodwin, used to say, will have legs. It will be able to go far and wide, whether or not I'm sitting at the desk here. So thanks everybody who has tuned in this long, and mahalo, and we hope we'll see you next week, same time, same channel, Sunday from 12 to 2 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Stay free. As what's that British guy's name? He always says stay free at the end. Russell Brand. Thanks, Russell. Stay free, folks. Love you guys. Aloha and hui ho. Gee. How's our sound quality? How is our sound quality? Yeah, I had it on my phone, and then play, and I boosted like a gain or whatever. Was it okay? Okay, so like we can kind of get by with that for now. Yeah, I sent him the Zoom link on my phone. Yeah. And he's like, okay, send me another link because Zoom wants you to pay for more than like half an hour. But yeah, once I'm already started, it's kind of like, rub your belly, pat your head, try to do everything. You know how that is, right? So, yeah, I would like to give him a segment, of course, but like I'm also starting this like other kind of format. And right now, like today's format, I kind of see that just as temporary. Like I plan that in like 10 minutes today with fresh content. So like that's easy without thinking, but I prefer to do the guest interview like you and I did that first time. That first interview is just much more engaging. I don't have that much to say myself. I want to let other people say. Right? Oh. Should I give you a break for today? I can go early.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll try to
Mm.
this, and then I'll read it, and then...
Oh, that's that thing. Okay.
I don't know, somebody came to be... That's the thing here.
Oh, and this is just first draft. I had other ideas, but I've been taking too long, so I sent you the first draft. Yeah.
We'll edit whatever necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, or if you send any notes, or you can handwrite notes, and then just take a picture, send it back to me. Yeah, whatever is convenient. Because I've been like kind of once. So this one's the guest appearance. This is what guests will sign with KPMW, right? Or Racel, I should say. And then the other one is kind of just an update on the agreement between me and you guys, just as host and like sales system creator, or architect, I should say. But I didn't have enough time on these this week. So, and yeah, I hope you like it. But yeah, just ideas first. No big deal, no big rush. But yeah, just if you have other ideas or anything, or we need to change anything, just let me know. I'm pretty easygoing, I think you can tell, right? But yeah, I've got a few serious friends that are like very capable, and honest is key, that are very